1937 General Electric. This is a GE. Let's see what we got here. Model E50. Edward-50. So probably two bands. And I'm going to see if we can get this to work. This is the last video of 2018. My plan is to release it on December 31st, 2018. So Happy New Year. We can get the politics aside at the beginning of the show here. And this belongs to a buddy of mine. And he wanted me to see if I could get it to work for him. Now usually I would bring something like this up with a power transformer. I'd bring this up on a variac or a dim bulb, but he's already powered it up and says it just hums. So we know probably what that's about, but I guess it was dead besides that. This finish kind of gives it almost like one of those Crosleys, is modern Crosleys, and I guess this was factory, the two colors. Anyway, 1937, this is fairly early. So, like I say, usually I'd variac or dim bulb this. We're kind of in this record cold weather right now. When I woke up this morning, I took the infrared to the hood of the car, and the hood of the car measured 11 degrees, and everything was covered with ice. So, only reason I say that is because the battery on the camera is not happy, and I'm trying to warm it up a little bit. Some of these batteries, the capacity just goes away when they get cold, but who knows? Maybe the climate crisis will solve the homeless crisis if we keep these kind of temperatures going. All right, I pulled the schematic on this last night. I went by the local guy, and I picked up capacitors that this thing will probably need. The first thing I want to do before I even turn it on is I want to see what kind of antenna does this use. Does this use a coil antenna, or does this use a long wire? I would assume something from this age would probably use a long wire. Alright, according to this, it looks like it just uses a regular antenna, piece of wire. Alright, here we go. I did find the watt meter, so I will 38 watts, 35, 33, 32, 31. It's rated at 50 watts. Well, that's a really coarse tuning. Talking about like half a turn to go all the way across the whole entire band. Okay, just dead. That one there doesn't look like it's lighting up at all. This one looks dark. Do we have a bad tube here? There it goes.
Irish, I think they're still remembered for getting trounced or torched, whatever you want to call it.
Months for more than 100 new businesses to sprout up around the country. They employ thousands of drivers. Check your money at 20 and 50 after each hour. Bellinger for K.
New hope for extending last call. That story in about 2 minutes.
2018. It was a year of heartbreak.
Within 3 minutes, it went from let's monitor it to we were running for our lives.
It was really scary to watch the flames come over the ridge.
Keeping you informed yesterday, today, and tomorrow. KNX 1070 News Radio. Depend on us.
Susan.
80s. 우리의
Hey, this thing dominates. It doesn't even have an antenna on it.
397. I think only 597. Sony 4K Ultra up to 85-inch, all on sale. LG OLED TVs for just $14.97. The Video and Audio Center, biggest ever inventory reduction and New Year sale.
We're here today with Brenda Barnett, General Manager of LA Animal Services, with a message for you.
Holidays are about family, good friends, and cheer.
Yeah, this thing looks like it's got all original GE tubes in it, but I don't want to run it.
Whether it's a pooch like Lily, a blonde, curly-coated snuggle pup, a cat or a kitten, a bunny, or even a rooster.
Oh, and interesting, we're up at
our LA
54 watts now with that tube conducting.
Vaccinated and microchipped.
Oh,
People
yeah.
say.
Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to vaccinate and microchip this thing. In the form of some new capacitors. Let me get it apart. You know, I almost want to say this thing's pretty low hour with still having the felt washers, and it's got, looks like all but one of the original screws in the bottom, like it hasn't been molested at all. All the original knobs. This is a kind of a rare thing for something this old. Wow, look at this. You know, it's rare you see something this old that is all original like this. I think the only thing that's been done to this is the power cord replaced. And look at the splice job from the power cord to the old power cord / power transformer. Really wrapped with like some type of cloth tape and then string tied around it. That is so elegant, I am not going to even touch that. I mean, there's zero strain relief at all. I guess if you pull on the radiator, you're going to rip the wire right out of the transformer. But I just don't want to touch this. Airplane in the sky, come talk to me. Wow, check out the wire. So this is the across the line capacitor, but it's actually on the transformer side of the switch. Actually, what does that do? That goes from the line to the variable. What is this? That's a volume control. What are they doing there? Anyway. Alright, there's one thing I'm kind of interested in, which is the state of leakage of these capacitors, and my kind of general way to check this is by measuring the grid of the audio output tube. So I think this should have 0 volts on it. Let's see what we get here. 35 volts. That'll Is our tube not getting hot again here? Oh yeah, 9 volts. 9 volts across that. That's a mighty leaky capacitor. So the first thing I'm going to do, well, this tube socket, or the tube, is actually a big issue with the filament not getting power. I'm trying to analyze this and see where the fault lies with these things not conducting. And the filament ones are the two at the kind of the right top of the screen. Guess let me just clean them. Alright, I cleaned and tightened the female and the male side. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave this in here, and I'm just going to disconnect it and replace it with 2 new electrolytics. This is a dry paper capacitor. That's probably why it's not that bad, because dry paper capacitors don't dry out. This is pretty unique to see an original in a radio of this age, at least in my world it is. So I'm just going to disconnect it and put 2 new electrolytics. These are only 8 microfarad. This doesn't use big high capacity capacitors because it uses a field coil.
Homes.
The animals now up for adoption at the San Diego Humane Society have been through a lot.
They've lost their families, they've lost their homes.
The organization's Daryl Walker says some even had to be treated for burns. She says they have 11 in all, but 3 dogs and a cat are looking for forever homes. They include a bonded pair of miniature
We
pigs.
have a cat named Sunshine. She's a 3-year-old cat, very affectionate.
She says you don't have to live in San Diego to adopt the animals. Pictures are up on our site at KNX10.
This old cloth-looking wire is asbestos core. That nice brown weaved cloth is over this, which is pure asbestos for your sniffing pleasure. Yeah, try and minimize the inhalation of this and disturbing it, you know, just leave it alone kind of thing. So, yeah. There are our 2 new 10 microfarad 350 volt electrolytics. It's what the parts list specs out. Well, it specs out 8 microfarads, but they don't make 8s anymore. And that was a 0.03, and it's now a 0.033. So here we go. Let's see if it's any different. Oh, let me check that voltage.
And if you do just 1 lesson a day, your language skills will improve.
I was intimidated, but Babel made it easy. I did just 1 or 2 lessons.
So there's 0 hum, and our voltage now is 0.1. I'm not going to change this capacitor. All this capacitor does is goes to that tone control to kill the high end. There's 0 volts across this, and you're not going to use it because you're going to leave the tone set to treble.
Adults who smoke know that there is an alternative to cigarettes. Make the switch at Juul.com. That's JUUL.com. Warning. This product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical.
140 on KNX. The man wanted in the...
I don't know why I like this so much. It just makes me want to smoke a cigarette.
Yeah, big crowds expected in New York City for New Year's Eve. Last year's festivities were on high alert because of an attempted terror attack just weeks earlier.
All right. What I did is I undid the cord at the plug, and I brought it all, fed it all the way through and put a knot in it. I'm going to tell the owner to do with this what I tell everybody to do with an old radio. Buy a power strip and use the switch on the power strip to turn it off and on. That not only saves your house from burning down possibly, but it also saves the switch and volume control from failing. It takes the wear off of here and puts it on your power strip. All the capacitors that have any voltage above 10 volts across them have been changed. It looks like there were only 4 of them plus electrolytics. I can tell from the performance that this thing does not need an alignment at all. I'm not going to even screw with it. This is a low hour set. It's in good shape. This is a hell of a find right here. Oh, these. Sometimes these are paper and sometimes they're mica. The factory service data I have says that they're all mica, so I'm not going to touch them. These are mica, they're not paper bombs.
어떤 사람은 부유한데 어떤 사람은 가난합니다. 어떤 분은 또 잘생겼는데 또 어떤 분은 또 그렇지 못하고.
십자가에서 9th of his career. So
I'm walking to New Orleans. I'm gonna need to parachute when I get.
¡Ey! Toda la familia se quedan rezagados, temerosos. 없습니다.
Geez, the sensitivity of this thing would be terrifying with a long wire antenna on it. Now this is a nice nice one to wrap up the year with, a nice simple low hour power transformer early AM super heterodyne set. And you know, these things are so easy for me to fix with the access to information and documentation I have and parts locally. This very simple and pleasurable thing to just knock out on a Saturday afternoon in the freezing cold.
After a while, seasoned citizens began to say, wait a minute. They keep saying this, and it never happens. My Social Security has not been taken away, and I haven't been kicked out of my home. And by the way, I haven't even seen a serious effort to take my Social Security away. So eventually...
So they're just these tiny little freeze-dried marshmallows and put those in there.
This thing does not have AVC like a modern set, like AGC, feedback AGC. The volume control is actually it's not a typical volume control in line with the between the detector and the audio output. It's a feedback gain control for the front end.
You could even put a spoonful of peanut butter.
Radio Bollywood.
Handoff up the middle he goes across the 25 and 26 yard line.
about reality. In other words, if the average return has been over that.
How did you get from Britain? Obviously, you went
527 yards.
Electoral de 2019 is where they're already. Estamos muy.
En ese momento. October 2016. Make the switch at Juul.com. That's JUUL.com. Warning, this product contains nicotine.
This might be the most sensitive radio I've ever had. This thing's...
There never were a parking cars and pumping gas. I've got lots of friends in San Jose.
Incredible. See what our wattage consumption is now that everything's... Wattage is 52 watts. 53.5 VA, so it's got a really good power factor. Crap. Power factor is 0.98. That's incredible for something with a transformer in it. This is what I was talking about, where the volume control is in the circuit. It's usually the volume control would be over in this section here between the detector and the audio amp. But in this, it doesn't have a real AVC. It just is, yeah, that's why you got to constantly kind of adjust. There's no real feedback. You know, and if you're into this look, this specific look of this radio, these blemishes are totally worth fixing. I mean, it's totally worth fixing this dent and repainting the top, because the rest of it's in really good shape. Except all the red is good, it's just the blemishes are all in the black, so I'll leave that up to him. That's not my department. My department's the electrical restoration. So anyway, Happy New Year, and we'll see what happens next year.